Now I will try to conclude the research on CDS and applied context. It has been seen that there have been many studies in CDS, critical discourse studies, in relation to applied context, for example, a context where various workplaces are involved. But there is still a lot of still a lot of scope to which actually makes us to look into this sphere more seriously. There could be certain suggestions which might be incorporated to make future critical discourse studies more effective. For example, we might say that in order to make future critical discourse studies more effective, thereby we mean that in order to affect change in a society or in an institution about which we conduct a study, which obviously is a claim of critical discourse studies, it is important that our research, our work, our analysis of the discourses produced within those societies must be appreciated from within those contexts. Otherwise, it may remain irrelevant to the people who are working in those organizations, and many academicians would be citing our works, and we probably would have an air of popularity. But is that work changing the lives of the people about which their study has been conducted? That's the more important question. And I think this question should haunt future critical discourse studies analysts as a more serious concern, because people would be questioning this and have already questioned this about critical discourse studies. Our critiques must be valued by more than just ourselves. It's not that one academic or language expert is appreciating the work of another academic or language expert. The people about whose discourse we are working, they should appreciate what we are doing in order to produce some genuinely socially effective research, and only then we can serve the purpose of critical discourse studies. Similarly, we need therefore to find ways to make ourselves relevant and useful for the people we are researching upon. And this may mean having to forego some of our linguistic orthodoxies, some of our specific ways of handling things, which make us irrelevant or too erudite or educated for the common people to understand ourselves. So when we put so many difficult terminologies, orthodoxies, and certain prism to look at a certain discourse, that probably would make it difficult for the ordinary people. Therefore, it is advised that we might quit some of linguistic orthodoxies and conduct analysis in a way which would be more comprehensible, understandable to ordinary people. We should rather dislodge or decenter the linguist as the ultimate arbiter of language, and should, by extension, we should see that there could be other people who could probably interpret or analyze that discourse in a better way, or could possibly help us at least in analyzing that discourse. We should not be the sole arbiter of language and its use. Standing from without a system or institution or workplace is considered to be an ideal situation for the purpose of critique by some people, but we should not forget that being a part of a system can equally be useful to help us understand certain phenomena deeply, and therefore to affect certain change. If you keep on interpreting something from a distance, you may be objective, but if that is not acceptable or not effective to the people working within that society or organization, our analysis would remain ineffective. Throughout the literature on workplace discourse, we find evidence of research that sits tantalizingly close to direct intervention and collaboration with non-linguists. But it should be enhanced. More collaboration should be conducted. We have seen studies who recommend action-oriented discourse studies, in which we could actually recommend certain practical action as a result of the findings. Then we also find some researchers who tend to exclude this work. from their publications, such as the demand for theoretical over the practical. There are certain researchers, certain studies, certain publishing houses who always prefer theoretical over practical. But I think critical discourse studies should move more on the practical side of their works also. Foucault claims that sense theory does not express, translate, or serve to apply practice, but it is practice. It is an activity conducted alongside those who struggle for power and not their illumination from a safe distance. Identifying what power relations exist in a society, in a certain organization, what kind of effect they are generating may be good, but it can be more effective if we conduct an activity within that organization. So it's not theory only, rather it's the practice which can make our studies more serious and practical. Theory is exactly like a toolbox of kit, but it has to be employed in a certain context in order to be useful and effective. If we do not apply a theory in a practical way, we would hardly know its genuine effectiveness. Therefore, to sum up this point, I would like to share my point of view that in future studies based on critical discourse analysis and studies, the researchers should focus more on the practical side of their studies also. And the production and reproduction of theoretical studies on some social theories may become counterproductive in the promotion of this field in future.